Peak is back. I repeat, Peak is back. Hello everybody and welcome back to a Skylanders news video. Man, I don't get to say that often, so you know it's going to be rather exciting. Alright, I know we're all excited, but before we get into the new news, let's talk about the previous news. So for those that weren't in the know, about a year ago we got leaks of a new Skylanders figure of some kind or whatever. These turned out to be Skylanders plushies and the first thing that we had gotten in 7 years. In the last Skylanders material that we had gotten before that was Skylanders Academy, which is obviously a show on Netflix, and Skylanders Ring of Heroes, which is a mobile game. And, you know, if you want to go back farther, the last real Skylanders stuff, if you don't count those, Skylanders Imagineers in 2016, with the figures ending their release in 2017. So these Skylanders Youtooz came and went. They released sometime in June, and they were plushies of Spyro, Gilgrunt, and Stealth Elf. Rightfully so, people were excited about these, with it being, you know, the first content that we had gotten in literal 7 years. Reportedly, people are actually already getting their Stealth Elf plushies, and she is massive. Like, just look at her in comparison to the actual normal-sized figure. And people have been attaching NFC tags to actually make them work in-game, which is pretty cool. And apparently they sold pretty well, because here I am standing today to tell you that Wave 2, let's see, when does this release? Oh, it came out 4 days ago. Oops, my bad. But let's get into Wave 2 and discuss who is in it and if it's, well, worth your money. Wave 2 had been teased to us for quite some time, but now that they're officially out, I can tell you that Wave 2 consists of Trigger Happy, Pop Fizz, and Rex. The cool thing about these Skylander Youtooz is instead of plushies, this time around they are instead figures. Youtooz will often, with their figures, give them little slit eyes. It's kind of the Youtooz signature. You can see this as an example with other Activision properties such as Spyro and Crash Bandicoot. Fortunately, they decided not to go that route with the Skylanders, actually giving them their original cartoony and bulbous eyes, which I'm very thankful for. You can see the slit is kinda still on the Youtooz figure in the kind of reflection of the eye, but overall it's so small that it's not really that big of a deal. I'm happy how they did the eyes. Now, actually talking about the quality of the characters, I'm going to be honest with you. Because, you know, we don't get much, and just because we don't get a lot doesn't mean we deserve subpar things. Starting with Trigger Happy, I think Trigger Happy is phenomenal. Looking at him from all angles, I think he's perfect. I don't think there's a thing that needs to be changed about him. I love him to death. He's perfect. Now, the other two, that's a different story. For example, Rex, I think is fine for the most part. My only complaint with him is he's a little bit smooth. He kind of looks like Swap Force Rex, rather than the gruff Rex that you're used to. That's the actual normal, regular Skylander Giants figure, and the in-game model for him in Giants. And this is the thing that most people have been complaining about on Rex. The spikes on his arm are the wrong color. They're this weird puke green rather than the red and yellow spikes he should have. A lot of people have been commenting this to Youtooz, although I don't think they're going to fix it. But other than that, Rex is pretty fine, and then there's Pop Fizz, which I think is the worst offender in my opinion. They teased us well with Pop Fizz backshots, and I was like, oh, you know, hey, they're missing the magic logo on his back. You know, hopefully they'll actually fix that when they reveal the final figure. Archean of Shadows even made a little mock-up of how it should look, showing that he actually even has some incorrect colors for his potions and his overall just color scheme. Well, with the figures up to buy now, you can actually spin the Pop Fizz around officially on their website now. Well, if you turn around the figure on the website, it's still not there. These are still, you know, early renders, so maybe it will be there, and maybe the Rex thing will be fixed when they ship out. But I have a sneaking suspicion that they're not going to be, and that's because Youtooz quality control on Skylanders so far, well, at least for this wave, hasn't been very stellar. Looking at the actual official release for Youtooz, they incorrectly actually labeled Trigger Happy as a fire element. I don't know how that happened, but again, it's not that big of a deal. And in the newsletter, when they also officially sent out, they sent Trigger Happy with No Gold, No Glory, Pop Fizz with Motion of the Potion, and with Rex with Now That's a Treetop, which is a random throwaway line that Rex says when he puts on a hat, which we obviously know Rex's actual catchphrase is be afraid of the bark. These issues with the marketing really aren't that big of a deal. Mistakes happen. I get it. But these screw-ups mean that they have a lack of quality control sometimes. And if they have a lack of quality control in this marketing, who says that they won't have a lack of quality when it comes to the actual figures? Those mistakes that I talked about earlier, whether it be T-Rex's incorrect arm color or Pop Fizz's bag situation, those just might not be fixed. These figures, just like the plushies, are $30 each. And personally, if you're having to pay $30 for a Skylander figure, I personally think the figure should be in good quality and it should look as authentic as it can. And that's why I'm a little bit disappointed, especially with T-Rex and Pop Fizz. I think Trigger Happy looks great. I have no complaints with him. But again, these are $30 things. A big part of the conversation that has brought up is, well, the plushies were kind of cool because there's not a lot of existing Skylander plushies. And these are kind of cool because they're new Skylander figures, but the problem is they're Trigger Happy, Pop Fizz, and T-Rex. They're all 99-cent figures. The actual regular Skylander figures that work with the game and have better detailing and better quality are 99 cents. So when I pay $30 for these new merch of Skylanders, I expect them to be better, I expect them to be high quality, and I expect them to reflect what the character actually looks like on the older figures and what they look like in game. And that's why I'm a little bit disappointed with these. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't get them, but I just want you guys to know that you might be a little bit disappointed. Of course, I know us Skylander fans are starving and will basically eat anything we can get, so I know a lot of people are getting these. I also wanted to talk about the fact that there is a new actual thing that you can get with these figures, being collectible pins. If you pay $10 extra, you can get a little cute pin of the character. Now that brings it up to $40, and that's not counting shipping or tax. If you're getting the most expensive version of these figures with the pins, getting all three is going to cost you around $150 when tax and shipping is done. And I'm just going to be real with you, that's ridiculous. I want to promote and I want Skylanders merch to sell well, but I also want to be able to tell you guys realistically that that is very expensive. And it might sound like I'm negative, but truthfully, I, again, do want these to sell well. Because I think about it this way. This is our only Skylanders merch in so long, right? And the thing is, Youtooz has told us that these are selling well. It looks like the demand and nostalgia for Skylanders is there. Even though we are a small community, people want Skylanders, and they're willing to pay the money to get that. So, the thing is, the more money Skylanders merch makes, the more merch they're going to keep making. And, of course, Youtooz making money means other corporations are going to look at the Skylanders brand and go, hey, they're making a ton of money off of that. Maybe we should throw our hat into the ring. Of course, the biggest company that you need to appease is Activision because, well, they own the Skylanders property. And no, that doesn't inherently mean Skylanders 7. I've seen a lot of people, every single time the Youtooz come out, people have been trying to connect non-existent dots, thinking these Youtooz need to mean something deeper. And I don't think, well, I don't even need to think. I know Skylanders 7 is out of the question. Realistically, and I know I say these in the news videos over and over, but I'm going to say it again. It just doesn't make sense for them to make Skylanders 7 before they make a Skylanders port or remaster. Every single time Activision brings back one of their kid properties, they test the waters with a remaster of some kind. And I know I say that almost every single news video, but I feel like I have to so people won't get their hopes up entirely. Sure, maybe these Youtooz can lead to an influx of Skylanders merch, and maybe one day even a remaster or port. That's really wishful thinking. That is the definition of cope. I think a realistic expectation is more merch. And really my goal and dream is for me to be able to walk into something like a GameStop and see Skylanders something there. I don't care what it is. Just seeing Skylanders on a store shelf that isn't just an online website would warm my heart to death. And, you know, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro have that. I can walk into a GameStop and there's going to be Crash Bandicoot and Spyro plushies. So if you want to buy one of these Skylander figures, or even all three, go ahead. You are helping bring back Skylanders in some way, for sure. And you are telling Activision directly when you spend money on these, although you might not be speaking to their heart and you might be speaking to their wallet, you are telling them that the Skylanders brand will make them money, and they listen to money. It might be a while till we get more than merch, but that's the best way to do it. And that makes it sound like I'm just saying throw money at them, but realistically, that's really all you can do. There's not much more you can hope for. Although I do want us to probably be more vocal about Youtooz about the quality control and the accuracies of the characters and the figures, because I care a lot about this franchise and I don't want to see us get subpar stuff. And speaking of future merch, let's talk about Youtooz Wave 3, because it's already confirmed that that's happening. So if you were worried that this potentially could be the last wave, don't worry, Wave 3 is already, well, over half confirmed. They've already shown off a Chop Chop plushie, so I assume that they are just going to flip-flop back and forth between figures and plushie every wave. The other confirmed character, although we don't have a picture of it, we know Eruptor is coming. It makes sense, Eruptor kind of fits the plushie style very well. But that leaves who is the last one. Well, although we don't have concrete answers, I kind of made a couple of predictions in my very first news video, and so far all of them have come true. They're pretty basic picks, but I think our next basic pick out of my list for sure is probably going to be Jetvac. Of course, I would love for my expectations to be shattered and we get an oddball like, appease the Treadhead fans or whatever, but I think it's probably going to be Jetvac. Well, what about past Wave 3? If these continue to sell well and we get Wave 4, what are some other predictions we can think of? Of course, I've had my predictions of Chaos and Chill Bill, but I also think it would be very cool to get figures of characters that don't normally get figures. NPCs such as Flynn, I think, would sell very well. And my other idea is, so far, they have just stuck to pretty iconic characters for the Skylanders franchise. But what about more obscure characters? Characters that only really got one release or one figure. Characters like Sunburn obviously don't have anything, and getting another figure of Sunburn would be very cool. Or characters, of course, that are very late into Skylanders cycle. Skylanders like Blackout or Wildstorm or Robo would be a great pick. I know a lot of Skylander fans would eat that up. They would immediately buy them. It's a cheaper alternative than the actual regular figure. Just slap an NFC tag that you can make for real cheap on the bottom of it, and boom bada bang, you have a functional Robo and you don't have to pay $400 to get him. But that's about it, and that's all I got for you guys today. I'm curious to see, do you guys think I was a little bit too negative on the Youtooz? Do you think my thoughts were justified? And of course, what do you guys think of the Youtooz? Do you think they could do better? Do you think they're perfect? Will you be getting them or will you not be getting them? And if you are, why or why not? And what Skylander or NPC would you like to see turned into a Youtooz? And what do you think about Skylanders' future overall? Do you think it's hopeful? Is it bleak? I'll let you guys decide. I'll see you in the next one. Oh shit, Skylander Dad made a video. No, nobody's gonna watch mine. Shit.